Welcome to the Closing Beat, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're having a good day. This is our quick stock market update show. We just cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. We go over, the stock market, how things are going. We'll cover everything from the major indices down to the sectors, down to individual stocks. And of course, if you have questions along the way, I'm happy to help if I can. We're financial advisors here at Jazz Wealth. We work with all size investors, no matter where you're getting started at the beginning or if you're retiring. We treat everybody the same here, and we're a teaching SEC fiduciary registered investment advisor. So we got all our bases covered here. Tomorrow, each week we do a class for customers. Tomorrow's class is going to be rather basic. We're going to go over how things look when you go into your account, what you're looking at, how the investments work, and just try to bring everybody more up to speed. Sometimes those classes are basic, sometimes they're very advanced, and so we'll take it one step at a time. But market-wise, let's take a look. Off to the right-hand side of your screen, you've got a small gain on the Dow, really just kind of flatlined again, not really much going on there. S&P added 10, and the Nasdaq higher on the day by 54. That really doesn't tell the whole story. The real story is the Russell 2000. We commented yesterday that was struggling to get over its 200-day moving average. I'll pull it up here on our charts. Really struggling in this area today. This reversal that you see, this great 1.36% gain on the day, that's impressive. That you will take note of going forward. There's all these little hints that the market gives you throughout the day and throughout the week that let you know whether you're should be a little nervous, should be excited for a pullback, should be excited for a rally, whatever it may be. And the Russell gave the hint today with that reversal from yesterday's decline. Not amazing, right? But still nice to see an immediate reversal of a negative day, especially at a technical resistance area. So the Russell to me is the real story. S&P just chugging higher, getting closer and closer to highs. If you are a index fund investor, you got the S&P looking pretty good. If you are a total return index fund investor, you're at new highs, right? So congratulations, you beat other people to the mix. If you're looking to invest in index funds, please ask which one. Whoever's telling you you should invest in index funds, ask which one. Don't just accept the S&P 500 plain vanilla as is. What if it's the Nasdaq? What if it's the Russell, the S&P 600, 400, 1500, Dow? So please ask that question. Understand a little bit about it. Try to learn a little bit more there. It'll only help your returns in the long run. The Nasdaq pushing higher as well, added 0.5%. Well, we covered that already. I just want to say the Russell was the big focus there for today. A lot of the regional banks, we'll get to that in just a second, but they helped out in a small cap space as well. Look, you had overnight, if you follow markets overnight, you had the ECB basically follow what the Fed, European Central Bank is the same as the Fed here in the States. They said the same thing. We're just going to leave rates unchanged for the remainder of the year, or at least they're saying that as of now. You had the bankers on Capitol Hill. That's the big focus. If you watch financial media, basically they all took the day off and just put the camera right on the Capitol Hill meeting. Took all freaking day. Bottom line is, if you were to look at the banking stocks today, they actually did pretty good. Why do you think that the banks would do well today if they were getting grilled on Capitol Hill? It's very simple, actually. There was no real focus. There was just nothing going on. It was random showboating questions, and you may agree or disagree with some of the things that were said. The bottom line is what an investor wants to know is Congress or this banking committee looking to push new regulations which increase costs and all that stuff, or are they looking to get them to stop doing certain banking divisions that they may have? And we didn't see that today. We saw nothing in terms of Congress being frustrated that they want to change something. Lots of little, like I said, political theater sort of things going on there. And so because of that, investors looked at the banks and they go, okay, we'll give them a little credit today, added 0.33%. However, we have earnings coming up for these banks, and so you don't see this large explosion. I think if earnings weren't coming up, we would have seen a better move today, because what happened in Congress today was great for the banks, just period. There's no other way to look at it. Now, earnings coming out for these banks on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. S&P earnings season is starting. I think I'll probably do a video and post that one tomorrow for everybody, just to help you guys understand that, where we're at in the markets. Maybe instead of posting it to the dojo, we'll share that with everybody so you can get a hint of kind of what we do for our customers. But Here's the idea. S&P is expecting average growth of 4.3%. That's a downtick, so everybody's lowered their expectations. Revenues are expected to average in the 5% range. If that means nothing to you, just know that we were all expecting here, and now we're expecting here. So what that means when it comes down to companies reporting their earnings is, did we beat the new lowered expectation, even by just a little bit, or did we not? Were the companies not able to even beat the lowered expectations? So we'll be looking for companies to beat that, but then also announce positive guidance going forwards, and that will squash anyone who's thinking, okay, we've got companies contracting, their profit margins are contracting, the economy's contracting, so it'll be interesting. I happen to think companies will beat on earnings and they will guide forward, although not like guide forward, yes, the world is doing great. They will guide forward saying there is slowdowns, however, we expect to still do well. I think that's what you're going to see. So we'll cover it. I'm, of course, not giving any suggestions there. Well, we did the banking stocks there, a little bit higher on the day after being lower in the morning. Regional banks, you want to check those on any days where the big banks go meet in Congress or on Capitol Hill, because the big banks can absorb more costs. If there's more regulations, they've got the manpower, the capital to make it happen. The regional banks, not so much, right? They don't want new regulations. They don't want new costs put on them. And so since there was no real focus in Capitol Hill today, it sort of gave the all clear for the regional banks to go, okay, we're fine. So regional banks up about 1% on the day, and that's your reason why. Industrials, there we go, continue to pull back a little bit today, although the morning sell-off was bought. You can see that on the charts if we zoom in here a little bit. Look at the daily candlestick bar if you want to kind of see that sort of thing. All of it was due because of, or most of it was due because of Boeing. Boeing moved all the way back to these prior lows here. And the 200-day moving average did bounce a little bit, but that was still a lot of the pressure for Boeing. Remember, that accounts for 8.5% of the XLI, which is the ETF in that space. So that was a little bit lower. On our new watch list here, if you're one of our customers, go over to the right. We sorted it for you. You got retail a little bit higher on the day. So retail really chopping around. I would normally make a bigger deal out of this and dig into it and see all the good news. We have no real progress on this sector, so it's not a reason to get excited or nervous about it at the moment. Oil, a little bit, or oil explorers as well as oil, a little bit higher on the day. It's working its way out of this range, although not really anything for me to get excited about and sort of walk you through. So I will move on to individual stocks. Delta, we talked about them yesterday. They were reporting their earnings today, and look at what happened. Just like we talked about, it gapped higher, but limited range. Investors are like, there's no way I'm going to pay more because the risk, the entry price relative to the target price is so small, meaning I'm taking a lot of risk for a little tiny reward, and so the gap higher immediately sold off. It actually didn't do too bad, 1.5% on the day. Delta Airlines beat on earnings, beat on revenue. This is sort of the first of the earnings right here, by the way, so it's a good measurement to say they beat on earnings. Yes, that's perfect. We lowered the bar. Everybody's happy. They beat on revenue. Great. What was the last thing I suggested earlier? That companies were going to need to report positive guidance going forward. They did that. Delta did that, so they're already starting to sort of say that. Also, their revenue per seat mile was better than expected as well. That's just something everybody focuses on these airlines. And so pretty interesting there. Also, I won't go over it, but ConAgra, rather boring stock to follow, but they reported guidance that was better than expected. Why was it better than expected? Because they never give guidance. So here's sort of a hint as to how earnings season may go. You got companies that don't normally even report guidance going forward, saying things are looking good, they're going to do well. I mean, obviously we don't know if that's true for everybody, but we'll see. Levi's added 4% today. They had good earnings. That's it. We can't say they beat on earnings or missed. They're so new back to the public markets here. We have no way of knowing. There's no analyst covering it. We don't have any benchmarks set yet. Bottom line is they showed an increase in earnings in their short little history here back as a publicly traded stock. They were public a long time ago. And 7% increase in revenue, mainly due to the sales here in America, up over 10%. So looking good there. We got to talk about Lyft. Ouch! Lyft down 11% today. That's record lows, right? there's a lot of arguments here. You could say, well, Lyft, people that had invested in this one, they're essentially taking their loss. They're going to go invest it in Uber. Should be the first couple weeks in May for Uber, by the way, if you're interested in that one going public. Uber's going to launch with about $10 billion of an offering. That makes it the third largest. You got Facebook was the second, and Alibaba was the first largest offering, at least in recent history here. So Lyft just getting beaten to death here. New lows. You got people giving up on the stock. Do you see that as a discount, or do you see that as people moving money potentially over to Uber and others? I don't know. I think it's early to tell. We did a whole thing for our customers to let them know when the best time to own these things is. Let's move on. JetBlue, 3.5% higher today. By now, they should have announced it. It was sort of leaked earlier today. They're going to be doing intercontinental flights, Europe and such. And that'd be new for them. I believe let me see. Was this the one? Yeah. Well, the report says they're going to call it All Hands. So it'll be like a different branded airline that they own, and they're launching. So that may be out right now as I'm talking about this. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens there. I don't have anything else to cover on that one. Tesla got a little bit of a bump today, 1.3%. They're working on possibly extending the the tax credits for buying an electric vehicle, and we'll see. Nothing set in stone just yet from what I've read, but that'd be good. It'd be good for Tesla, and it'd be good for the others that are working on them too. So that's really what we have to focus on here today. Joey Hickerson, did you watch any of the big banks testifying? All day, man. Watch the whole thing. I watched the whole thing, even some of the more cringeworthy moments. I thought Jamie Dimon did great. Jamie Dimon has the normal, outside of Congress personality to be a little testy and a little bit of a smart aleck. He hung in there. But granted, all they really did was ask him one-word questions. Just say yes or no. You, yes, no. So it was rather uneventful, in my opinion. It wasn't really that exciting to watch. All the same garbage that we've been talking about for years. Sad that we all paid for that today. Yep. What's happening with GE? Well, GE today sold off another 0.6%. So that gap down from 3 days ago comes from a JP Morgan downgrade, where they basically lowered their price target from $6 to $5 and laughed at everybody that's been buying this rally. Hopefully that helps you. Yeah, it's been a tough one. You're really betting on sort of an interesting recovery for that stock. It's not going to be an immediate reversal. Nobody expects that. Yep. Any details on the upcoming changes to the W-4 later this year? Nothing new yet. Nope. I did see that they're working on finalizing that law where the IRS will not be allowed to have their own tax filing system. The IRS was considering letting people file directly online. And TurboTax and H&R Block won the battle, that one there. Yep. WWE's killing it. Huge distribution company here. You think of them as wrestling, but that's a big distribution, media and content distribution company. They are doing well. They historically have done really, really well. This is WWE World Wrestling. Yep. K1s are evil. You must have made some good money in those oil stocks. Yeah. You'd love our opinion on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. The return rate is insane. I would disagree. I think it's sort of perking up again where people are going, oh my God, I'm making a lot of money in Bitcoin. Yeah, but what happened? What just happened a couple months ago? How'd you do? How'd those people do then? Not well. So it's very normal. Pot stocks will eventually creep back up and everybody will talk about that again and pretend they're making a lot of money. Not interested. I don't follow crypto. Or Bitcoin or anything. I do comment on it, when it has a good or bad day, but no, it's definitely not a get rich quick. All that get rich quick stuff is over for Bitcoin and stuff. I would look at other opportunities. Any idea why Amazon can't break the 1850 range? Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain about Amazon at the moment. So Amazon's been on this steady uptrend. It had a hard time getting through. Where are we at here? Had a hard time getting through that 200-day moving average, and since then it's rallied over $100. So I wouldn't say that it's having a hard time here. It's just consistently been trending higher. Earnings are going to certainly be a huge factor there, but I don't see it having a hard time. Just a steady uptrend there. Looking sweet. And I don't see a range either. 1850 has yet to really be trading in a range there. So it looks good to me. Trade war extending being a bigger problem than talked about. I heard that they agreed on so what they've been arguing about lately apparently is the concept of, if we come up with rules, how are we going to each enforce these rules? And apparently they've worked that part out. That did not get covered in the news today. That was announced today, that they have actually worked that out. So the rules that they've come up with, they'll be able to enforce against each other. So it seems like they're making progress. Yeah, we covered Disney earlier in the week. 2 upgrades now, or many upgrades. I believe it's 2 just in the last 2 days. So that's certainly helping the stock in the short term. A lot of overhead resistance if you happen to be looking around 118, those prior highs going back to last October. But yeah, very strong here in the short term. Yep. Can't wait to go to the new Star Wars land. It's incredible, by the way. A couple weeks ago, we did a helicopter tour to kind of see all that progress. Wow. Incredible. I can't wait. Pavan, sorry, I forgot your name wrong. You have an account with Fidelity. They are not allowing small accounts to apply for the IPO Uber. Any other options to apply to Uber? Nope, you'll have to wait until they go public now. Unless you're a high net worth investor, and I believe even that's closed off at this point while they're in the filing process. You'll have to wait until they go public. It should be the first or second week in May. If the markets continue well, I'd imagine they'll be in the first week of May that they end up actually launching and going public, so you can buy it if you're interested in that. Yep. What do you think about oil and gas companies' earnings this quarter? You would expect to see a small uptick, right? If we just did a simple, very plain vanilla analysis against the oil companies as a whole versus the price of oil, you'd expect to see a small uptick. Generally, it takes a little longer to see anything significant. This rally in oil has been pretty consistent, so I would expect to see a small uptick as an average, right? There are a ton of companies that are days away from not having any money, so of course not on an individual basis. Yep. Chop, he's up 89% on AMD. Should you sell? If someone gave me an 89% return, I probably would have cashed in at 80, right? You should always have a plan, by the way. This doesn't need to be my opinion. When you buy a stock, what's the goal? Just have a goal in mind. And you can say, look, if I make 10%, I'm going to lock in so I can't lose, right? I'm going to break even. The stock can fall a little bit, but not enough to where I lose. If I happen to make 20% over time, I'm going to raise my exit price to where I get out if I make like 8 or 10%, right? So you can certainly walk it up. And the answer, Chop, may be to just say, hey, I've got me some AMD and things are going well. I like the stock. I like the return. I'll let it pull back and I'll lock in a 50% return in exchange for letting it possibly run 100%, 110%, or wherever you're at with this thing. So look at it from that perspective rather than saying, oh my gosh, today was higher. That's great. Is it going to go higher? Or tomorrow's lower. Should I sell? Think about it in terms of profit. That way, when you finally do close it, you won't look back and go, darn, I missed out on a little bit more profit, and things like that. You'll be happy with the profit that you have planned to lock in. David says, how about the Russell? Wow, is that a prediction for a strong day tomorrow, the rest of the week? Yeah, I brought that up in the beginning. The Russell, to me, is the not talked about strength in the market. Now, granted, the Dow, the S&P, even throughout the day, you saw that strength, right? Look at the chart at the bottom right there. You could see the strength holding throughout the day, and that little blip there in the afternoon where they tried to sell it off, buyers sucked it back up. You could really feel that strength overall. A lot of that was the financials rallying into the end of the day, but the Russell 2000 to me, really stands out as quite strong here. That reversal today, very impressive. Very impressive. Yep. No thoughts on the Amazon-Microsoft bidding war for the contract. There's a lot of things going on there that we just don't even know about. It'll just be announced one day and it'll be over. I have I don't pretend to know what they're talking about behind closed doors. That's fascinating to me, by the way. But no, I don't know. Your opinion on swing trading GLD. Great ETF to use for gold, both from a just liquidity standpoint of the actual ETF, but also the options. If you happen to like using options and you participate in that as well, great options market. I have nothing bad to say about it. Yep. And lady, we covered Delta already, talking about the earnings for the day that they announced. Good earnings. Everything looks really good there. And they guided forward positively too as well. So that in addition, we look at the chart as well. All right, that's all. Oh, Best Buy, not Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond reported earnings after the close here. I believe the stock was lower pretty sharply, but that's okay given the recent run that it's had. Looks like that one's going to be lower tomorrow as well. Hey, that's where I'll leave you guys. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy. We'll be back tomorrow. Do this all over again, and if I helped you in some way, maybe you'll hit the subscribe button. If I didn't, I'll try again tomorrow. All right, see you guys.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.